So at its heart, Teaching Divided Histories is really a media project. There's the media that the young people are consuming through those representations of the conflict, which are how they've experienced the conflict: television, news, photographic journalism, and kind of digital representations of the conflict. And then they take the inspiration from those representations and they create and they recreate. They might be creating graphic novels, comic strips, their own short filmed pieces or re-edited pieces of existing film. And by learning those digital skills, the pieces of work they're doing, they're actually learning the history and learning the perspectives on the history.
Throughout my career, I've been committed to examining the role that history can play in dealing with conflict in Northern Ireland. The use of digital media, I think, offers history teaching real opportunities. It's an area which is developing very fast. Moving image is useful. It allows young people to engage directly with resources from the time, with primary resources using film, which is crucial to understanding history in the 20th century.
The whole project's based around reaching young people and I suppose trying to find new ways of teaching history and connecting with young people, and I suppose really trying to empower them so they're actually involved in finding out about history and discovering it themselves. The modern media that's out there should be used in the classroom. I think that's a central thrust of this project.
I think projects like Teaching Divided Histories are very important for a number of different reasons. As a professional historian who works in a university kind of environment, it's very important that kind of scholarly history is transmitted into schools, particularly by using what children are interested in, technologies and so on, as a way of sort of embedding historical knowledge. Let's stop expecting films to have balance. That's not what films do, but we can use the strengths of film, such as, for example, the power of film to create an emotional connection with the past. And we can support films, I think, very effectively by providing resources that make students think about the limitations of the film as an interpretation of the past.
We take films into schools and we do film screenings and then have discussions around them. And the focus is on multi-perspectives always. And also to, create this platform where the students are allowed to develop critical thinking and make up their own minds and choices and directions.
We all need to learn lessons. Look what's happened in this country over the past 40 years. So much trauma, so much hurt, so much pain. But we've come out of it. The main thing is that people have to learn the lessons of history. And that's what's happening now. People are filling in some of the shaded areas. It's not all going to be revealed overnight.
For many young people these days, film and digital media and moving image are their main sources of information about both current events and about historical events. So for them, they are not maybe inclined to go to books or to articles and research what actually happened or what are the different interpretations of it. So it's very important, I think, for young people to be able to analyse and critique the kind of visual media and the images that they receive of events. So if, for instance, they've watched a film like Michael Collins or Some Mother's Son or any of the films that have been made about the Northern Ireland in recent years, some of the content of the film is obviously true, but some of it may have been slanted, some of it may have been told from a particular perspective. So to help young people develop the skills of critically watching and analysing digital media, I think it can also very usefully contribute to the teaching of the section in the Leaving Certificate history course where students look at the events in Northern Ireland and Ireland over the last 40 years. Again, there isn't as much scope for taking the time to use digital media there, but again, it's an additional way and a very engaging way for students to actually think through some of the issues and some of the perspectives on this period of history.
I think the more people learn about how wars, how civil conflicts happen, the more it gives them the power of thinking to ensure that they can either make sure that it doesn't happen to them, or that they somehow get to a thought process where they can start to make progress towards, ceasing their conflict and moving forward and not being stuck in the past.
Amongst journalists and filmmakers, there's a very familiar story that we tell ourselves about what we do and why we do it, and you go off and you come back and that's it. But the connections that you're making between not just historical conflicts, but the way that they're being reported and looked at and the way that they're mediated by people like me, it's asking some really interesting questions. We always feel that every conflict and even every side of a conflict is very, very different from the other. And actually, I mean, I find whenever I'm in those environments that the more you talk to people on different sides of it, you realise how similar it all is. And what you're finding here is that whether it's in Ireland or whether it's in Mexico or Syria or Iraq, the issues and the situations that people find themselves in are extraordinarily similar.